Hi students, good morning. Welcome back to online video class. You are watching class 5 Social lesson 16 First War of Independence part 2. Shall we have a quick recap of previous video class? In last video class, we have seen three topics. They are trade and East India Company's establishment of company rule and Battle of Plassey. In the 17th century, several European traders arrived in India. First came the Portuguese. Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer who discovered a new sea route to India and reached Calicut. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to come to India and start trading with India. Then the Dutch, followed by the French and finally the English. Each of them formed their own East India Company to trade with India. Trade means buying and selling goods. All these companies wanted to trade with India for two reasons. One, India was rich in spices and cotton textiles. Two, India was a huge market for their goods. Sir Thomas Roy, an English ambassador, got the permission from the Emperor Jahangir for the English East India Company to trade in India. When the permission was granted, the English East India Company quickly established factories in Surat, Bombay, Calcutta, Madras and many other places. The company's trade proved to be very successful. This made them powerful. So they started carrying out defeating India. First, Battle of Plassey. Siraj-ud-Dowlah became the Nawab of Bengal in 1756. The British East India Company established a factory in Calcutta which was called Fort William without the permission of Siraj-ud-Dowlah. The Nawab was also disturbed by the misuse of the trade license granted to the British. He realized that Bengal was suffering because of its trade relation with the British. All these incidents angered the Nawab and he captured the Kazim Bazar factory of the British East India Company and drove the British out. However, the British won the support of his chief of army Mir Zafar. Under Robert Clive, an officer of the British East India Company, met the Nawab at Plassey in Bengal and declared a war against the Nawab. The Battle of Plassey took place at Plassey in Bengal. With the help of Mir Zafar, the British defeated Siraj-ud-Dowlah and Mir Zafar became the Nawab of Bengal. The victory at the Battle of Plassey strengthened the hold of the British in India and Bengal came under their control. In 1760, Mir Qusam became Nawab of Bengal after Mir Zafar with the help of English East India Company because Mir Zafar was in conflict with English East India Company over too many demands. English East India Company played a major role and replaced Mir Qusam, son-in-law of Mir Zafar, as Nawab of Bengal. Few years later, another battle known as Battle of Buxar took place in 1764. It was fought between the new Nawab of Bengal, Mir Qusam, and the English East India Company. However, Mir Qusam was defeated by British. Mir Qusam fled to Patna, where he took the help of Shuja-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Oudh, and the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam to wage a war against the British. The British defeated their combined army at Buxar in Bihar. Finally, Bengal came under the British rule. After these two battles, that is the Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, the English East India Company laid foundation of its rule in India. The British declared themselves masters of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. Now it is known as Odisha. Next, the Anglo-French War was fought between French and English East India Company, ended French trade in India and established the supremacy of the British East India Company. After winning the Battle of Plassey and the Battle of Buxar, they won the rights of collecting taxes from Bihar, Bengal and Orissa. After celebrating their victory, they were eyeing towards the regions around Mumbai and Madras for expanding their dominance, and for that purpose they started the war against Mysore kingdom. They fought 4 battles with Mysore kingdom. In 1799 it won over Mysore by defeating Tipu Sultan in the Battle of Seringapatnam. Over a period of time, the British East India Company defeated the Marathas, the rulers of Oudh and Punjab. The company also introduced several laws and policies like the subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse to expand their rule. First, we will see about subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance was introduced by Lord Wellesley, the British Governor General in India. This policy was to play a major role in British expansion in India. According to the term of this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed force. They were to be protected by the company, but had to pay for the subsidiary forces. If the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, then part of their territory was taken away as penalty. Tipu Sultan of Mysore refused to do so, but after the British victory in the Mysore War, Mysore was forced to become a subsidiary state. The Nawab of Oudh was the next to accept the subsidiary alliance. Next topic is Doctrine of Lapse. Lord Dalhousie was the Governor General of India. He introduced the policy of Doctrine of Lapse. It enabled the British to take control of any Indian state if the ruler of that state had died without leaving a successor. This meant that an adopted male child could not become a king, and in such a situation the state would come under company rule. The Maratha kingdom, Jhansi and Oudh were annexed under the doctrine of lapse. After many laws and policies, no king had that amount of military power which could challenge the British East India Company. When the British took control of India, they needed a plan to run it. So they framed laws and planned the land revenue system. They also established the army, police, bureaucracy, which means government, and judiciary. Land revenue system means paying tax for land. Tax from the land was a major source of revenue. Revenue means income for the kings and emperors from ancient times. But the British introduced different land revenue system in different parts of the country. They are Zamindari system or permanent settlement, Ryotwari system and Mahalwari system. In all these land revenue system, the revenue was fixed at very high rate. In permanent settlement, the company fixed the revenue so high that it became difficult for the zamindars to pay revenue to the company. The settlement was unfair for villagers as they had to pay high rent to the zamindars. Their rights on the land were maintained till they paid the revenues. To pay the high land revenues, they had to take loans from money lenders at high interest rates. Cultivators failed to pay the high rent and thus were put out from their lands which they had been cultivating since generation. In other land revenue system too, most of the peasants means farmers were not able to pay tax revenues and hence lost their lands. Next topic is about conflict with the British. As the British rule expanded, a strong discontent means disappointment grew among the Indians against the British. Let us discuss about some of the reasons for this discontent. The British exploited the natural resources of India for their own profit. They exported these resources to England to run the British industries. The zamindars had to pay high land revenues to the British. If the revenue was not paid, their lands were taken away by the British. The Indians were not allowed to use railway compartments and some public places owned by the British. Once the British were steadily established in India, they utilized the farmers, traders, craftsmen and the rulers of local kingdom. The farmers were made to pay very high taxes even during the floods and drought. The farmers were forced to grow indigo, a plant which is a source of indigo dye, and cotton. These were bought at very low rates and sold at very high rates in England and other countries. Thus, farmers in India became poor. Many farmers died due to scarcity of food. Cheaper mill-made cloth was imported into India from England. As a result, the handloom industry of India suffered. Lakhs of weavers became unemployed. The British did not allow the Indians to open mills and factories. Indian traders were not allowed to trade in items of their choice. The company rule was unfair. The British had introduced laws meant only for their benefit. Many Indian rulers felt cheated because of the subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. Because of these, Indians protested against the British rule. So, protest movements occurred throughout the 19th century in India. Some of the important ones were the Santhal Rebellion, Indigo Rebellion, Pabna Uprising and Deccan Riots. Come, let us discuss more about these movements. Santhal Rebellion. Santhal Rebellion of 1855 was a major tribal rebellion by the Santhals, people in Jharkhand, who started a movement against the policies of the British. During the 19th century, government leases, forest regulation and the setting up of railway network severely affected the lives of the Santals who lived in the districts of Cuttack, Chotanagpur, Rajmahal Hills. Their lands were threatened by the British. The rebellion spread rapidly but was suppressed by the British, with peoples being killed and entire villages being burnt. Though the rebellion was brought to an end, it continues to live in the memory. Next topic is about Indigo Rebellion. Indigo cultivation started in Bengal in 1777. Indigo blue dye was in high demand. European forced Indian farmers to grow indigo. The cultivators were forced to grow indigo in place of food crops. They were given loans for this purpose. Once the farmers took loans, they could never repay it due to the high rates of interest. The tax rates were also very high. The farmers were harmed if they could not pay the rent. They were forced to sell indigo at non-profitable rates so as to maximize the profits for Europeans. The Indian farmers revolted in Bengal by refusing to grow indigo. They attacked the policemen. The planters, means the owner of the estate, in response to this increased the rents. The revolt was suppressed and many farmers were killed by the government. Next topic is about Pabna Peasants Uprising. Peasants means tenant farmer. The movement was started by peasants against Zamindar. Pabna, now in Bangladesh. The introduction of jute as a cash crop played an important role in Pabna Uprising. The jute income made peasants to manage with zamindar. There was a fall in jute price in 1873. The peasants were struggling with scarcity of food, but zamindar's rent had increased multiple times. The revolt broke out due to increased rent beyond legal limit. The movement was non-violent, means peaceful to some extent, but zamindars were killed at many places. Next topic is about the Deccan Riot. In the Bombay Deccan region, the British had introduced Riotory land revenue system. In this system, the agreement was between the government and the cultivators. However, the revenues were so high that the farmers found it difficult to pay their dues. To pay their revenues, the farmers generally took loans from money lenders. In 1861, civil war broke out in USA, so the demand for cotton from India became high, and this led to cotton cultivation in India, and there was a period of high demand. However, once the war in America ended, cotton demand go down and this affected the farmers. So in 1875, farmers attacked a marketplace where many money lenders lived. They burnt account books of money lenders. Thank you students. Meet you all in the next video.